Hi everyone, no major news today, so let's get straight into the data. And you can see here on the charts, we are heading into this key area of resistance. Key breakdown here, double bottom, rally up. If it breaks here, we could see a resumption. If it rejects from here, we are going to see a much lower low from this lower low down into this trend line, in my opinion, down in the 562 area. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Moving over to fear and greed, we are at a 44 up from a 42. So we did have a strong day on markets, but we did not really see that here on the fear and greed index. You can see that slight rally here on momentum back into neutral there. Strength, still extreme fear. Breadth, still basically flat, if not down slightly. Put call ratio, spiking, extreme fear there. Another indicator in extreme fear. Volatility, pulling back slightly, still above this SMA, still seeing this trend up, but neutral. Safe haven demand, still neutral. And then junk bonds, starting to see a little bit of a bottom forming here, but still extreme greed. Moving over to seasonality, slightly bullish here today, tomorrow, up until the 7th before we see that decline. We'll see if that ends up playing out. Remember, all of this is supposed to go away here into the 12th and then into the 21st, so bearish from here over the next 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean that in the short term we can't see an up day or two. Quick look at the earnings calendar. Marathon Petroleum beating on the top and bottom lines pretty handily by $1 billion there on the top line. 83 cents here on the bottom line. Big numbers for them. Yum Brands missing on both. Makes sense. Global Foundries beating on both. Good for them. And then tomorrow we have Qualcomm, ARM, Gilead, as well as CVS. Want to see if they've pulled it out a little bit. They were terrible last earnings cycle. And then for the Thursday, not a whole lot. Just Duke Energy, Airbnb, Motorola. Datadog, fairly interesting, pretty volatile stock there as well for you short-term traders. That'll pretty much wrap it up for this week, to be honest. Moving over to the economic calendar, we did get some really good data here, much better than expectations. 53 versus 48, 56 versus 53, and then slightly better there on non-manufacturing prices. Composite PMI, okay. Global services PMI, okay. But the big beat here was the non-manufacturing employment, so that's pretty good numbers, and I think that gave markets a little bit of a pop early in the session. Tomorrow, basically nothing, and then Thursday you do have the FOMC, so big data there. Obviously going to have a huge impact on markets. Moving over to Max Pain. Max Pain had a huge shift here. The Friday Max Pain is all the way down at $5.58 now, nearly $20 lower than current price. What a shift. It was at $5.80, I think, $5.75, somewhere in there going into today. And then now for the Friday, we are much lower. You can see red across the board here now for the next couple days. Huge percentages, $5.50, $5.38, $5.34, huge numbers, big bearishness now on the charts. And this is a crazy flip considering what we've been looking at. It was green across the board going into the day. Look at this here for the 7th, $42 lower, 7.5% lower. So I'd be cautious out there. These are huge numbers. Be patient. Watch yourself in markets. Have tight stops. If any of this comes to fruition, which actually has been a pretty good guide, markets are about to flip very bearish. So something to keep in mind. I would watch this going into the next 2 to 3 days at least. Moving over to the charts, starting with the S&Ps here on the daily. Big up candle, 1.2%. Step to bullish on the momentum. RSI still well below that SMA. We talked about how extended we were. Talked about how we might retrace, hit this SMA, and then downtrend. Very similar to the move we got here. Retracement, continuation lower. It seems like that's what we're about to get. Downtrending. I think this structure is still bearish. Does that mean we can't see another wick up? Test these lows of this consolidation here around 579.90 or so. 578.80, somewhere in that trading range for the low of this consolidation. 21 EMA sitting at 578.64, up smidgen after hours after the big up day, but key resistance at the SMA, key resistance at the 21 here. If it breaks this area though, we could push right back up to this trend here. That would be 587.54. That would be a new all-time high, just barely. Maybe we double top in here. This is the start of a double top. We've been watching this as a left shoulder head, right shoulder potentially forming, waiting for this 21 EMA to kind of wrap around and act as resistance. So we could be starting to see that continue in its formation. And then looking at the hourly chart, like we talked about in the open, you got the breakdown retest, 144 EMA, 200 SMA. This is a 200 SMA retest. That would be 578.53, pretty much right in line with that 21 EMA. Get a touch of that level and then a rejection. You can see we're overbought here now. The volume did come through on those bullish candles, and we did get a little bit of continuation into here. Maybe we overthrow it by a little bit. My level 579.78 there. Did get above 574.71, breakout, retest, continuation. So there is a little bit of bullishness, but this looks overbought now. we should start to see that medium term downtrend start to form. Short term, bullish, extended. So we'll see how it plays out. Key zone of resistance right in here, watching that area closely. Moving over to the SPY here on the Tasty charts here, you can see those 3 bullish candles on the 4-hour took out the ATR trailing stop. So technically bullish conditions here with that low, higher low setup rally through. Took out the midpoint. Everything looks okay there. Trailing stop is now 568.53. The big concern for me is that these ATR bands are still very much trending lower, even with the up move today. And the other piece now on the hourly chart, which is in bullish conditions after the up move today as well. You can see back into bullish conditions with that ATR trailing stop, which is at 573.12. But the main concern is that we're at that upper ATR band. You can see we're actually a little bit above it, 576.51. I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday. If we rallied through, this was going to be the zone. And we are there. We're actually a little bit above it. Maybe we have a little bit more push and we hit the levels that we just talked about on the other charts. But in terms of extension on the short time frames, we are definitely extended. Moving over to the NASDAQ, same thesis here, up 1.28%. Momentum stepping to bullish. RSI still below the SMA, looking for the retest breakdown. We're right at the 21 EMA. Again, just like the SPY, 21 sitting at 492.49. Closing price was 492.21. After hours, we're just a little bit above it. If it continues to play, your trend is sitting up here. Let's go ahead and extend that out a little bit. Give you an initial price target somewhere around 497.54. And then if that breaks, you have this upper trend, a little bit more powerful trend up around that 503.66 area. That would bring you to this upper trend as well. We'll see if it plays out. We're at a critical zone, just like we talked about on the SPY. In looking at that short time frame, you can see very, very critical here at the 144, at the 200 SMA, just above my level, 492. We're going to see if this holds or not as resistance. Didn't quite hit overbought conditions on the NASDAQ. If it rejects from here, that's going to be very, very powerful to the downside, in my opinion. But we did have this low, higher low setup, and we ended up getting the follow through off of that. So we'll see if it can rally up to that next zone here again, 498 on the hourly chart, my level, 498.44. Moving over to the NASDAQ was not nearly as powerful here. You can see we approached that ATR trailing stop, which is at 493.75. We are still in bearish conditions here on the 4-hour chart. Looks like a retracement. Again, ATR band still very much a downtrend. Nothing really changing. If it rejects from here, lowest ATR band all the way around that 478.74 level. And then here on the hourly chart, again, didn't quite get to that upper ATR band. So it is bullish conditions. You can see the trailing stops now at 488.04 to the downside. Upper ATR band resistance at 484.53. Almost touched it on the 3 o'clock candle, rejected from there just slightly. And really, this does not look as powerful as the SPY. SPY looks much, much better. Still, like I mentioned, in bearish conditions for the 4-hour chart. And again, I would expect a rejection from that 200 SMA area like we saw on the previous charts. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. The Russell had a great day, 1.88%. The Dow had a pretty good one as well, about 1% higher. Momentum stepping to bullish here. Again, key resistance at the SMA for the Dow. We're going to watch that closely. RSI is 50.05, SMA at 52.64. So if we hit that and reject, it's going to be terrible. Similarly here, you got 21 EMA sitting at 425.13 as well. But then you got the Russell, huge breakout, did pretty much exactly what we talked about. I think we said the trend was the target, and we did touch that in the after hours. I did not trade this well. Obviously, I was in a bullish position going into the day, but I really should have adjusted positions here, rolled out to the end of the week, bought myself some space, and I just absolutely didn't. I missed the breakout here, and I honestly lost track of it, and it continued to run. So huge move. Still looks very good. Still looking for a test of 226.02. And then if that area breaks, 229.18 is the next level. Moving over to the Mag 7, popped as well like everything else, 1.71%. Hit the 8 EMA at 282.79. High of day was 282.84, so just barely touched it and then rejected from there just a little bit, actually hitting basically the same high as what we saw on the Friday session before we pulled back, but this time we closed above VWAP, above the 21 EMA. So we'll see if those gains can hold or not. 283.46 is the key level. Momentum stepping to bullish. RSI still below, looking for the retest. Really something like this makes sense to me. Retest, breakdown, and then we'll see what happens after that. Does it hold here and then rally up? Still a high, lower high, low, lower low, just barely, waiting to see if it rejects again and heads to that lower low here, or if it breaks through and then kind of continues to chop upwards from here. We'll see how it plays. Right now, critical level 283.46, up just a smidgen after hours, probably going to have a little bit of follow through, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe we even get the gap fill back up to 288.65. That would be interesting. Overall, right now, short-term bullish, medium-term still bearish for me. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple up 0.65, still cannot get above the level 224.36. I think that's going to be resistance here. We'll see how it plays. Maybe we go up and get the gap fill up to 226.18 and then reject from there. Still below all the short-term EMAs. Momentum still bearish. RSI would be the same setup. Bounce, hit the SMA, reject. We'll see if that plays out. And then similarly here on Microsoft, really the same play as everything else. Consolidation, retested, actually did not look as good as everything else realistically. 0.73 to the upside, hit the key resistance at 413.36 and then did reject from there. I still think this is going to go lower. It's taken a long time, taking its sweet time to do it. But volume was terrible, bad earnings, consolidation, probably just a little extended, still not above my level. You can see my alert there, 412.72. Tested it, rejected from there, closed below it, 411.46. I still think this is going to go to a lower low. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla is a perfect example of the inverse of everything else that we're talking about here. Look at that RSI, big spike up, almost hit overbought, came down, retested the SMA perfect, caught a bounce off of there, ended up with a 3.5% up move, hit the level 255.44, almost to the penny. High of day was 255.28. So just a couple of cents off of it, and you can see after hours we're at 254.50, so it's up even more after hours. Everything looks good here. If Tesla breaks out, 264 is in play, and then this is a higher low setup, so you would expect a higher high from this previous high, so maybe 280.06 is in play. Either way, Tesla looks great. NVIDIA also looking pretty good here. We talked about this trend, overthrew it, came back to it, held the level, bounced up. Positive 2.8%, momentum stepping to bullish. RSI, need to see it get through that SMA, so doesn't look as good there, but trend wise still very much intact, still very much a medium-term bull trend off of this low, higher low on that 144 EMA, holding the 21 EMA. 9 is still above the 21, just looks like a retest in here. If it can get above 140.76, I could see this pushing up into the 150 area. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet. Amazon had good earnings. They were able to hold the higher low here today, positive 1.9%, pushing towards that $200.55. It's pulling back from there a little bit, momentum bullish, RSI bullish. And then similarly here on Google, good earnings, pulled back, round trip the move. Now we're holding that level, 170.95 is the level. This actually looks like a pretty good setup to me, higher low setup here. 144 holding, RSI holding. If it's going to bounce, really needs to do it here, and sure enough it did. Momentum's not super great. Would like to see that step to bullish, but this is a key zone. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this indicator up here right at the high from today. We'll see if we get the breakout. If it does, I think this could head back to 179.44. Couple of bull trades potentially in the markets. Tesla looking good, NVIDIA looking good, and Alphabet. Moving over to staples and discretionaries. What a day here on staples. It ended up holding off of the trend line, positive 0.63, held the level 78.90, didn't even touch it. Momentum swinging RSI, it's above the RSI here, so that looks pretty good. Push up to the trend around 81.40 makes sense. That's another 40 cents in play. Staples looking pretty good coming off of this level, especially not touching the trend. Seems like we're getting a little bit of a falling wedge there. And then look at discretionaries, absolutely massive, 1.77%, broke clean through my 200.53 level. Then looking for that 203.98 level. We're right at the highs back from the Monday. And this is a pretty powerful head fake. You can see big move down here, 1.5%, sideways chop, up candle, pretty strong. See if it can get there. And if we break out from here, I'll definitely have to add some levels. I got one up here at 215, but I'm sure there's something in between. Right now, 203.98 is the target. Moving over to transports and real estate. Transports having a good day, 1.74% coming off of this key support at 69.29. Momentum stepping to bullish. RSI right there, testing it with the SMA. It's downtrending. We'll see if it rejects. You can see we push through here. Could reject here or push through just like that. We'll see. And then real estate having a good move as well, 1.37%, up a little bit more after hours, headed towards the 44.76 level. It's right at the 21, right at the 9, right in this consolidation that we talked about yesterday, pushed right to it. Now we'll see if this zone ends up holding as resistance or if it's going to push through back to these consolidation highs. Moving over to timber and oil. We got wood jumping up 1.35%. We came in, retested the zone, rallied up. Now this looks very, very good. You can see this medium term kind of downtrend structure, breakout, retest, continuation. Looks very, very good, like I mentioned. And then oil still in the same consolidation. This is the weekly chart, and we have been here since September. We're still here, but we're getting very close to a critical level, 73.07. We'll see if it can break out there and then push up to this trend line here. Let's go ahead and extend that out. Want to see a retest of that 77.50 level, push through here, retest that zone. It's been a long consolidation. We're holding higher lows. I do think this is going to break to the upside. Momentum, stepping to bullish, RSI, stepping to bullish. Everything looks good on the weekly. And then looking at it here on the daily as well, you can see triple bottom, looks good. Want to see the breakout here, push to that trend line. Everything looks good on oil, especially with the move on timber and those good economic indicators. Oil demand should be going up here a little bit. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon, we haven't talked about these in a couple days because they have been a dumpster fire. You can see we fell all the way down to the level 8.78. Touched that yesterday, gapped up and rallied here today, 8% higher. Similarly here, Marathon, testing this consolidation, gapped up and rallied. We'll see if there's any more in it tomorrow. 4.77%. Want to see this momentum step to bullish. Probably in the same thesis here, looking for the retest of the SMA, but in the short term, that doesn't mean this can't rally pretty decently back up into the 18 range. It's been trading in here for a while. You can see high, low, high, low. Now we're just on another low here, looking for another push back to this same consolidation high. This is a long consolidation here for Mara. I do think it will break to the upside eventually, but it's taking its sweet time. Moving over to breadth, we did get a huge breadth thrust here. You can see 35.9% and 11.85% off of this consolidation low. We had the step to bullish yesterday, big step to bullish here today, so you would expect some more continuation for sure. I know we talked about that SMA being very, very interesting, and I still think that that is interesting on the RSIs across the board, but this is a big step on breadth, big close right at the highs, big push here on the 20-day. At the very least, I would expect 1 to 2 more days of continuation. And then we'll see what happens after that. Momentum stepping to bullish. Everything looks good. RSI is breaking out. Still probably going to be a lower high, but in the short term, play the move that you have. Moving over to yields, you can see these have been chopping sideways now for a couple of days. 30 October, same trading range as today here on the 2-year, and then looking at the 10-year, same really here. 28 October, same range. Hit the key level, 435, and then rejected from there. Big break, breakdown, retest, breakdown. Seems like this yield move might have finally cooled off. This could have been what's pushing down markets, and maybe as this starts to cool, we're going to see that continuation on equities, so something to consider there. Step to bearish, RSI below the SMA. Everything looks like this is set for a little bit of a pullback, and I've been saying it for a while. FOMC is going to cut rates. We should expect this to come down some more. The yields on bonds should get a little bit of a reset. I don't know what markets are thinking, just getting these driven up super aggressive. But if this sells off big with FOMC, that could give equities a big move higher in my opinion. And then moving over to the dollar, this did exactly what we thought it was going to do. Finally getting this bigger move down that we have been waiting for, and equities did go much, much higher with that move. So the dollar selling off, hitting the trend, very, very close to it. Broke my level 103.64. Once this breaks here, 102.98. Probably all the way down to the 55, retest there, and probably will get a bounce from there. But again, short-term move. Dollar weakness should give equities a little bit of bullishness. Then we'll see what happens once we get into this zone here. And looking at bonds, as you would expect, JNK, TLT, both of these had really strong moves. Big volume coming through on JNK with that up move today. TLT very, very close to hitting my alert there, right around the 93 level, right in here, 55. VWAP, 21 EMA, same level, 92.82. Still testing this. This is a base consolidation at this point. Think this is going to rally. Think this is a buying consolidation, and then it's going to break higher. So see how it plays. I think that's what's going to happen. And once this starts to rally again, I think equities are going to go with it. Moving over to the NASDAQ here, you can see we ended up getting the breakdown, broke through this level, rejected off the 2250 level. So that's a triple top here now. This looks like it's going to pull back a little bit more, at least into the 1850 area. This consolidation of trends in here. Momentum stepping to bearish, RSI stepping to bearish. Makes sense. Everything looks like it's going to go a little bit bullish on equities for the next couple days, and then we'll get into this zone and see what happens from there. So short term, a little bit bearish here on the VIX. Moving over to my accounts. Yes, I made a little bit of money. No, it was not as much money as I should have made. Pretty bummed, honestly. Rally was a little bit pre-market, but we did get some continuation during the session, and I did not take advantage of that fully. In terms of positions right now, IWM forgot to roll it out. Again, just a bummer. We'll see how it plays in tomorrow's session. Maybe I can get a little bit better entry. And then looking at the Qs, I did put some puts on for tomorrow at 488 for $2 credit, and then 2 days from now at $500 call. If markets continue to look super bullish, I'll probably roll this down and in and then put on some shares. We'll see how that plays. But for now, very slightly bullish, and I'm just upset that I did not roll out that IWM. I just totally forgot about it. Markets closed, and I did not get any orders in, so should have rolled it out, should have stayed bullish on both of these. I am a little bit bullish on the Qs, but again, very, very short term, watching those very key levels, because I still think the medium to long term is going to be a little bit bearish from here. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the markets and what you think of that big reversal that we got today. Is it going to hold up, or are we going to get that lower high setup? Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.